Good morning, YouTube. Okay, so I'm on here. I want to discuss something that I just saw on YouTube, another YouTuber. This is not going to be some kind of rant against this person. I don't have a problem with this person. His name is Funky Dineva, and he calls himself Funky Dineva. I don't have any problem with him at all, so this is not going to be a negative thing against anything he said. But he brought up an interesting subject, which I want to comment on. And so he was inviting people to comment. I thought I had a little more to say on the subject than just writing in the comments. So I choose to make this video. All right, so we were talking about attraction. You know what? I've been gay my entire life. I believe that you just talk about what you know about. So I'm not going to sit up here and try to break down the issue with uh, heterosexual people dating outside of their own race or marrying outside of their own race. It's just too big for me, and I don't know a damn thing about it. So I'm not going to pretend that I do. I can only talk about what happened to me. So he made a statement that kind of got me up and kind of going. He said, when you don't like people in your race, you have a problem. I don't believe that's true. And I believe that if it is a problem, what is the problem? Where does the problem come from? Did this kid just imagine the problem? I'll tell you my experience. Okay, I was born in Indiana. My natural father took off. I never knew him. Met him a couple times, according to what they tell me, but never knew him. My mother married another man at 1 year. I was 1 year old. We moved to California, and immediately he started beating the shit out of her. Because I'm a product of an abusive family. My my first encounter with black manhood was of this man who was what I considered to be a monster at the time. So he would whip my mother on a regular basis, maybe once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. There was never any peace in our house. Anything that could be said wrong, he's liable to go off. And he was not a child abuser, so he wouldn't attack us. He would always attack my mother. This could be at our dinner table. So it was pretty horrendous. And I was 1 year old. Okay, so she finally broke away. Uh, uh, they broke up when I was about 6, 7 years old. We moved back to it. We ended up moving to New York. She had to escape him when he was at work. She took off. We moved to upstate New York. No, we moved to New York City, Long Island. And then within about a year, he showed up there, and they got back together, and he started beating her again. So this was the way my life began, 1 to 3 years old. So I don't remember all the dates. I mean, I don't have a memory of anything before 8 years old or so. But there are certain things that I remember because I was traumatized by all this violence in our house. So she broke up with him. Finally, I was, I believe, 6. She was single for a year, and then she got it with another guy who ended up living with us. He was he was a better person. I mean, as far as being liking kids and being a nice person in general. But when he got angry, it was the same thing over again. So my first encounter with what it was to be a male. My father took off, so I never knew my father. That's where I started. At 1, I met this very violent man came into our house. At uh, at 6, my mother was with another man, and he was the same. My uncles, we were living back in Indiana at the time. My uncles literally had to sleep over our house with guns. They had to arm themselves and sleep over in order for us to get any sleep because at any moment he could kick through the door. This third guy. So I said all that to say that the conditions of my household, what the conditions were, and I think that has. I used to think it a lot. I used to think about it a lot more than I think about it now. But I think the conditions that I had in my house influenced my sexual preferences, my attraction for the rest of my life. I think I was traumatized in that scenario. The only way we were poor people, only way we could escape was in television. So I watched a lot of television. I lived in front of the television. Of course, at that time, everything on television were white people. There was no black people. This was years even before Julia, so there was no black people. You very rarely saw any, and they were dramatizations. So there was drama. It wasn't real white people. It was these families, fathers knows best, and all of these type of families, which the families always appeared to be perfect. Certainly, there was no television series on airing where the male was hitting the woman in the face or stomping and kicking the mother. So the images I was getting at home was very different than where I was escaping to in television. And so there could be roots there. You know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a PhD. I'm not even a very well educated person. So I can't unravel all that. I'm simply trying to have this conversation, or at least share a few thoughts about it. And so when you say that you got a problem, well, where did the problem come from? What is the root of it? Why are some people attracted to people outside of their own race? Now, I got to say this also, that I'm going to step away from this for a minute and come back to it. I got to say this also, over 90% of people are attracted to people in their own race. So nobody gets 100%. So as far as people being angry or upset because somebody likes somebody outside their own race, listen, you're not going to get 100%. That's just a fact. People are different. There's a mutual attraction. Whenever you say that, oh, he likes white women, but also on the other end of that, that white woman likes black men. So they like each other. There's an attraction there. Okay, so okay, that was a caveat. Now we're gonna go back to the core of it. All right, so in 1968, 69, there was a show came on television. I remember it very distinctly. It's called The Monkees. Now, Monkees were these young white kids, and I remember my very first attraction to men was the characters in the Monkees. Now I don't know if it's just because they were white, or whatever, but they did happen to be white, and that was my first attraction. And now I got to tell you, I think it's significant that my attraction then is almost identical to my attraction now. So these things have deep, deep roots for me, at least. It's not like I can just go say, okay, you're supposed to be attracted to your own race, so I'm just going to now decide to be attracted to my own race. That's not the way it happens. It goes so much. It's so much deeper than that. The psyche. I wish I was some kind of PhD. I could really dig into these things. I had the type of mind that could dig into it. I think it's fascinating. It would be fascinating research if anyone cared enough. Okay, so there was no sex, of course, at that age, 19 years old. But I was very attracted to these boys. I knew I had a crush on them. This was my big secret. Knew I had a crush on these monkeys. I knew the two that I had a crush on. I still would. If I saw them today, if we were at that age, I would still be attracted to them. All right. So when I was in high school, let's pick up in the high school. I was in the closet, of course. I could pass. I didn't have to be out. It wasn't like I was feminine or anything like that. But we were bused. This was in the first years of busing. So our high school was one of the first to be integrated in Indianapolis. Actually, in junior high, I went to a predominantly white high school, and I was checking out the guys then. But in the projects, I was around my own people, so I was attracted. There was a couple of guys that I liked at that point. There were a couple of girls I liked at that point. I was still trying to just figure myself out and know what I really liked and all that. But I think that the type of household that I was coming from, not black people, not my race of people, my individual household, what I was experiencing there, and the escape I was finding in these images on television is significant. I believe that's even now. So as I became a man, okay, I was in high school. I liked the guys. I was still attracted to the same kind of guy. I didn't act on it. At 19, I left school. I moved out to California, and immediately, then I was free. I do what I want. I was a grown man. I was away from my home. I went immediately to those same type of men. I was always attracted to them. So I never knew switching from being liking one type of person to the other type of person. It was always that. As long as I can remember being sexual, I was attracted to that kind of person. So it's just what I was attracted to. Now, if I was attracted to because of my dysfunctional family, I don't think it was based on any decisions that I made. I was 8 years old. You see what I'm saying? So the psychological things that happened to me, or the response to the violence, I think is significant. So anyway, I said all that to say that is not things are not always as easy as they may appear. Uh, I know a lot of men are like that. Most people I know like some particular type of person. I don't know the gay experience, but I know guys who only like Mexican guys. I think, so what? Why is it? Why would it be important to me what kind of person they're attracted to? That is our own prejudice. We are free people. Free. You know what used to happen to black people who like white people? Let's say in 30s, 40s, they were lynched, hung. So now we are free. We don't have to worry about nobody killing us because of who we like. But there's so much of that still stuck in us. If you say that 90% of the people like their own race, why don't you work on those 90%? I mean, like somebody out of the 90. Why you have to have 100%? There's never going to be 100%. There's always going to be people who like other people, and I think that's fine. And Christ is kept. None of us are. Most of us are not blue black. So there's cut here all over the place, and not always from slavery. There, we're combinations of people, and so this might be too big a subject for me. So, but I do want to add it to the conversation. You know, you say this person don't like this person. I remember listening to R&B music when I was a kid. I was a little kid, and God, I said, what lies? Because it was all this R&B music, and it was always these beautiful love songs. And then I would go into walking through the house as my mother's being thrown across the room, and I said, it's a lie. That's not what I knew at home. So I think that was the seeds of my attraction to other race. It was something other than what I was experiencing in my own house. So I don't know, just consider that. It's just something to add into the conversation. Maybe there's some other points I made. Mutual attraction. So it's not always, uh, I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to sit on that. If I think of other points in this, I'll come back to it. But it was never a wonderful thing to be attracted to a race outside of yourself. Okay, let's take for example. What if I had had a good father? What if I had my parents that stayed together? They were married when they were in high school and stayed together. What if I had a good example? Would I be the person that I am today? As far as sexual attraction, would it be different? And I strongly suspect that yes, I think it would be a total different outcome if I was if if I was exposed to a good, positive black family, and there are thousands of them. I know that there are a lot of people grown born with fathers, a lot of people who are not in abusive relationships like that. But just I'm saying, consider what you're doing around your kids. You're having an effect on them that will last with them for the rest of their lives. You know, to understand trauma, your psyche being adjusted by something outside of yourself, it's trauma, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think maybe the heterosexual thing is a little more complicated because it involves, children, families, and all this kind of stuff. But as far as being a gay man, I don't think it's necessarily bad that people like people outside their own race. If a guy likes Chinese guys, so what? Does he like him? He likes him. He's only going to be attracted to one who like him. At some point, two of them come together, positive and negative. They go together. And so, anyway, I'm sure that I would like to get deeper into this, but I haven't thought about it a whole lot. I just have just kind of a gut response. Once again, I don't have a problem with Funky Dineva. I think he was just trying to start a conversation. He was able to be honest to say that he has his own prejudices, like we all do. We all have our stuff, but nobody gets 100%. And I'll leave it to that for the moment. Is there a possibility that I can come back to the subject? I don't know. But for now, this is it. All right. Have a good day, guys.